So this should be a much bigger story than it is. But so the Pentagon received over like $1 billion in funding, so they could deal with COVID in their own way, right? And like that was meant for COVID relief within the Pentagon. But most of that money was apparently funded to military contractors. So, I mean, where do we begin?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was. I think it was about $1 billion in like pandemic relief.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was meant for pandemic relief with the Pentagon, but yeah, it all got directed to like military contractors, like like Honeywell, uh, Boeing, Raytheon, etc. Yeah, the military industrial complex.
Exactly. Yeah, because it even went to like the Air Force and planes, like for like that
Yeah,
technology. Like, what does that have to do with the COVID thing? And
yeah.
answer absolutely nothing.
I got cut off. What'd you say?
Oh, I said like, what does that have to do with the pandemic? And the answer is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And just the military industrial complex that MSNBC, the supposedly progressive cable media channel, keeps on trying to tell us doesn't exist, even though it clearly does. And yeah, like I don't know where to fucking begin with this. Like, in what world is this okay?
It's not. It's definitely not okay. But sadly, it's been normalized, and like as we talked earlier with Alex, this false sense of patriotism has been ingrained in our culture, where we think overfunding our military is some sign of America being great.
Yeah, and like on top of us really like turning our military basically just kind of a black hole for funding, and then on top of that, the trillions of dollars that we've given in COVID relief to corporations over the last 6 months, and you know no one can say how are we going to pay for it anymore when talking about Medicare for all, free college, all these different things that would actually help people, like help ordinary working class people. Oops. Again.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with politicians and who we elect. We can
Yeah,
overturn the military law just like this. Nobody asks Mr. Speaker, like President of the Senate, how are we going to pay for this? We have we have like over $1 trillion debt deficit. No
yeah.
one ever brings that up.
And I've been saying we can use the like I've been saying, like we increased, like over the course of the Trump presidency, we've increased the military budget by like $80 billion. I was wrong. Turns out that is the amount that we increased it by just last year. So like $80 billion is more than enough to pay for free college.
Yeah, it's like estimated $72 billion.
Yeah, we can have like with the trillions of dollars total that we've given to the wealthiest people in this country could be used for Medicare for all. And but like we don't do it, and it's not because of deficit or whatever. They clearly don't care about that as much as they claim to. It's because they're bought by the military industrial complex. They're bought by the private health insurance companies. They're bought by big pharma. That's essentially why they don't do it. They don't do it because they're worried about it being too expensive. Because with the way that we give funding, like I said, to big corporations and to the Pentagon, we don't care about deficit spending as much as we claim to.
I mean, yeah, it is hypocritical. A lot of that military budget can go to this stuff we're talking. But sadly, they just are. Even Democrats, even the so-called like left-wing Democrats, are very reluctant to do so.
Yeah, like Elizabeth Warren, who, when it comes to like taking on Wall Street, is fairly strong. I mean, she created the CFPB, no matter how much like Joe Biden tries to take credit for it. Um, like I got you those votes. Like Elizabeth Warren is pretty strong in that area, but she has received a lot of funding from like Raytheon, for example, and she has voted for Trump's military budgets. So she's very reluctant in that area too. Luckily, she did vote for that 10% decrease a few months ago, uh, which is definitely it shows that she's not blatantly corrupt, at the very least.